First Contact and the Viral Threat. The year was 2047 when humanity finally made first contact with an alien species. The excitement that swept across Earth was palpable, a mixture of wonder, fear, and anticipation. Dr. Samantha Chen, lead xenobiologist at the newly established Interstellar Relations Center, could hardly contain her enthusiasm as she prepared for the arrival of the alien delegation. The Zorlacs, as they called themselves, were a reptilian species from a star system 40 light-years away. Their ship, a sleek vessel that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it, settled into orbit around Earth with an easy grace that spoke volumes about their technological prowess. As the first shuttle descended towards the United Nations headquarters in New York, Dr. Chen stood among a group of Earth's most brilliant scientists and influential leaders. The anticipation was electric, a current of energy that seemed to connect everyone present. The shuttle doors opened, and out stepped Ambassador Krell, the Zorlak representative. Tall and lithe, with iridescent scales that shimmered in the sunlight, Krell cut an impressive figure. Dr. Chen stepped forward, extending her hand in greeting. "Welcome to Earth, Ambassador Krell," she said, her voice steady despite her racing heart. Krell's multifaceted eyes blinked rapidly, a gesture that Dr. Chen would later learn indicated pleasure. "We are honored to be here, Dr. Chen," the alien responded, its voice a melodious trill translated through an advanced device around its neck. The next few days were a whirlwind of diplomatic meetings, scientific exchanges, and cultural demonstrations. Humanity and the Zorlacs seemed to be on the brink of a beautiful partnership, one that promised to propel both species into a new era of interstellar cooperation and advancement. But on the fifth day, everything changed. Dr. Chen was in her lab, examining some cellular samples provided by the Zorlacs, when her assistant burst in, face pale and eyes wide with fear. "Dr. Chen, you need to see this," he gasped, thrusting a tablet into her hands. The screen showed footage from inside the Zorlak shuttle. Ambassador Krell was convulsing, its scales turning a sickly gray. Other Zorlacs were in similar states of distress, while human diplomats looked on in horror, unsure how to help. "What's happening?" Dr. Chen demanded, her mind already racing through possibilities. "We don't know," her assistant replied. "But it's not just them. Reports are coming in from all over the world. People who've been in close contact with the Zorlacs are falling ill." Dr. Chen's blood ran cold. This was the nightmare scenario that every xenobiologist feared, an interspecies pandemic. Within hours, the world was on high alert. The Zorlak ship, still in orbit, had gone silent. Attempts at communication were met with eerie static. On Earth, quarantine protocols were enacted with unprecedented speed, but fear was spreading faster than any virus could. In an emergency meeting of the UN Security Council, Dr. Chen presented her findings. "The virus appears to be of extraterrestrial origin," she explained, her voice grave. "It's unlike anything we've ever seen before. It adapts rapidly, jumping between species with ease. Our current medical technology is inadequate." The room erupted into panicked discussions, but amidst the chaos, one voice cut through. Dr. Adrian Foster, a brilliant virologist, known for his unconventional approaches, stood up. "We need to think beyond our current capabilities," he declared. "We need a quarantine solution that doesn't just contain, it prevents. A shield, not just around our bodies, but around our entire planet." His words were met with skepticism, but as the gravity of the situation sank in, desperation began to fuel innovation. The next few weeks saw the greatest mobilization of scientific and technological resources in human history. Dr. Chen and Dr. Foster led a global team of researchers, working around the clock to understand the alien virus and develop countermeasures. They made breakthroughs in nanotechnology, creating microscopic robots that could identify and neutralize the virus at a cellular level. But it wasn't enough. The virus was mutating faster than they could adapt their nanotech. That's when Dr. Foster had his eureka moment. "We're thinking too small," he said during a late-night brainstorming session. We need to go bigger, much bigger. His idea was audacious, a planetary shield that would create a quarantine field around the entire Earth. It would use a network of satellites to generate an energy field that could identify and neutralize any biological threat trying to enter or leave the planet's atmosphere. The concept was met with disbelief at first. Many claimed it was impossible, that the energy requirements alone made it unfeasible. But as the death toll rose and the virus showed no signs of slowing, the impossible became their only option. Nations set aside their differences, pooling resources and knowledge. The greatest minds from every corner of the globe came together, driven by a common purpose, the survival of their species. As work on the planetary shield progressed, Dr. Chen made a startling discovery. The virus wasn't just a disease, it was a weapon. Hidden deep in its genetic code were markers that suggested artificial engineering. Someone, or something, had created this virus intentionally. The revelation sent shockwaves through the scientific community and beyond. Humanity wasn't just fighting a pandemic. They were under attack. The question of who was behind it would have to wait. For now, survival was the priority. As the first month drew to a close, Earth stood on the brink. The virus had spread to every continent, overwhelming healthcare systems and bringing societies to the verge of collapse. But in labs and workshops around the world, a spark of hope was growing. The planetary shield was taking shape. Prototype satellites were launched, each carrying technology that seemed like science fiction just weeks ago. As they took their positions in orbit, humanity held its collective breath. Dr. Chen stood in the control room, her hand hovering over the activation switch. Beside her, Dr. Foster nodded encouragingly. With a deep breath, she pressed the button. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then, high above the Earth, the satellites hummed to life. A shimmering, nearly invisible field began to form, enveloping the planet in a protective embrace. As the shield stabilized, cheers erupted in control rooms and living rooms around the world. It was far from over. The virus was still raging on the surface, but for the first time since this nightmare began, humanity had hope. They had created something unprecedented, a feat of engineering and scientific innovation that would change the course of human history. In the face of an alien threat, humanity had not only survived but evolved. As the first part of this cosmic drama came to a close, Dr. Chen looked out at the night sky, now subtly altered by the presence of the shield. The stars seemed a little dimmer, a little more distant, but they were still there. And so was humanity, battered but unbroken, ready to face whatever challenges the universe might throw at them next. Little did they know, their greatest trials and triumphs were yet to come. The quarantine shield. The soft blue glow of the quarantine shield had become a constant presence in Earth's skies, a reminder of humanity's greatest technological achievement and its ongoing struggle. Dr. Samantha Chen stood at the window of the International Space Station, her eyes fixed on the shimmering barrier that separated Earth from the vast, potentially hostile universe beyond. "Penny for your thoughts, Sam." The voice belonged to Dr. Adrian Foster, who floated up beside her. Samantha sighed, her breath fogging the reinforced glass. "It's been 6 months, Adrian. 6 months since we activated the shield. And still, we're no closer to understanding the source of this virus." Adrian nodded solemnly. The quarantine shield had been a resounding success in preventing any further extraterrestrial contamination, but the virus already on Earth continued to pose a significant threat. Millions had died, and millions more were infected. The shield had bought them time, but it wasn't a cure. "We'll figure it out," Adrian reassured her, though his voice lacked its usual confidence. "The shield is working. Now we can focus on eradicating the virus planetside without worrying about new strains from space." Their conversation was interrupted by an urgent beep from the communication console. "Dr. Chen, Dr. Foster." A voice crackled through the speaker. "We're receiving a transmission. It's from the Zorlax." The two scientists exchanged startled glances before rushing to the command center. It had been months since anyone had heard from the alien species that had inadvertently brought this catastrophe to Earth. On the main screen, the face of Ambassador Krell appeared. The once vibrant scales were now dull, and the multifaceted eyes seemed clouded. "Greetings, humans of Earth," the translator conveyed. We need your help." Over the next hour, Krell explained the dire situation. The virus had devastated the Zorlak homeworld and was spreading rapidly through their region of space. Millions were dead, and their most advanced medical technology was proving ineffective. "We've observed your quarantine shield," Krell said, a note of desperation in its voice. "Nothing like it exists in our part of the galaxy. Please, can you help us?" The request sparked intense debate among Earth's leaders. Many argued against sharing the technology, fearing it might be used against humanity in the future. Others saw it as an opportunity to establish Earth as a benevolent force in the galaxy. In the end, it was Dr. Chen's impassioned plea that tipped the scales. "This virus threatens all sentient life," she argued before the United Nations. "If we have the means to help, we have the moral obligation to do so. Besides, by studying how the virus affects different species, we might find the key to eradicating it completely." With the decision made, work began on adapting the shield technology for Zorlak physiology and their planetary conditions. It was a monumental task, requiring innovation in fields ranging from xenobiology to theoretical physics. Dr. Foster led a team in developing a new form of programmable matter that could adjust its properties based on the biological makeup of different alien species. This breakthrough allowed the shield to identify and neutralize the virus regardless of how it mutated in different hosts. Meanwhile, Dr. Chen focused on unraveling the mystery of the virus's origin. She discovered that its genetic structure contained elements that couldn't have evolved naturally in either Earth or Zorlak ecosystems. The implications were chilling. Someone had engineered this virus as a weapon of mass destruction on a galactic scale. As Earth prepared to share its technology, a new challenge arose. A group of isolationist nations, led by the charismatic but paranoid leader Viktor Petrov, attempted to seize control of the SHIELD network. They argued that sharing the technology would leave Earth vulnerable to alien threats. The ensuing conflict nearly erupted into a global war, with Petrov's forces launching a coordinated attack on key SHIELD control centers around the world. It was only through the quick thinking of Dr. Chen and a loyal team of engineers that the attack was thwarted. Using the SHIELD's own technology, they created a localized field around Petrov's forces, effectively quarantining them. The bloodless resolution of the crisis demonstrated the SHIELD's potential as not just a defensive tool, but a peacekeeping one as well. With Earth's internal strife resolved, the mission to aid the Zorlaks proceeded. A team of Earth's brightest minds, led by Dr. Chen and Dr. Foster, embarked on humanity's first interstellar journey. Their ship, equipped with its own SHIELD generator, pushed the boundaries of human exploration. The journey to the Zorlak homeworld was fraught with challenges. Navigating through uncharted space, the team encountered phenomena that defied their understanding of physics. Strange gravitational anomalies, time dilations, and even a close encounter with what appeared to be a sentient nebula tested the limits of both their technology and their resolve. Upon reaching Zorlak space, they were met with a scene of devastation. Entire planets had been quarantined, their populations decimated by the virus. The Zorlaks, once proud and advanced, were on the brink of societal collapse. The implementation of the SHIELD technology around the Zorlak homeworld was a race against time. Dr. Chen and her team worked tirelessly, adapting the technology on the fly to account for unexpected variables in the alien world's atmosphere and magnetic field. As the SHIELD flickered to life around the Zorlak planet, a cheer went up from both humans and aliens alike. It was a moment of triumph, a testament to what could be achieved through cooperation and shared purpose. But their celebration was short-lived. As Dr. Foster analyzed the latest data on the virus's spread, he made a chilling discovery. The virus wasn't just spreading. It was learning, evolving at a rate that defied all natural laws. "This is beyond biological," he told Dr. Chen, his face pale with worry. "There's some kind of artificial intelligence driving its evolution. Whatever created this, it's not just a weapon. It's alive." As the implications of this discovery sank in, a new transmission arrived, not from the Zorlax, but from deep space. The message was brief, encoded in a language that took their most advanced computers hours to decipher. When they finally translated it, the message sent a chill through every human and Zorlak who heard it. "Your quarantine is impressive, but futile. The harvest has only begun." The threat was no longer just a virus. It was a hostile, intelligent force, and it was coming for them all. As Dr. Chen looked out at the stars, now hidden behind the shimmering veil of the quarantine shield, she realized that their greatest challenge lay ahead. Humanity had proven its worth on the galactic stage. Now they would need to rise even further if they hoped to survive the coming storm. The galactic pandemic. The message from deep space hung over humanity like a dark cloud, its ominous words echoing in the minds of every person who knew the truth. Dr. Samantha Chen sat in her makeshift office aboard the International Space Station, her eyes fixed on the holographic display showing the spread of the virus across known space. "It's not just spreading," she murmured to herself. "It's seeking." Dr. Adrian Foster floated into the room, his face grim. "The latest reports from the Zorlax are in," he said, his voice heavy. 3 more of their colony worlds have gone dark. The shield couldn't be implemented in time." Samantha nodded, her heart heavy. The shield technology, while revolutionary, required significant resources and time to set up around each planet. They were in a race against an enemy that moved faster than they could fortify. "Any word from the other species?" she asked. Adrian shook his head. "The Zorlax have reached out to their allies, but there's a lot of fear out there. Some species are going into isolation. Others are pointing fingers. It's chaos, Sam." The situation in the galaxy mirrored what had happened on Earth in the early days of the pandemic. Fear bred mistrust, and mistrust led to isolation. But isolation, they had learned, was not the answer. "We need to call a galactic council," Samantha said suddenly, standing up. "All species, all worlds. We need to share what we know and work together." Adrian looked skeptical. "You really think they'll listen to us? We're newcomers to the galactic stage, Sam. Most of these species have been spacefaring for millennia." Samantha's eyes flashed with determination. "They'll listen because they have to. We're the only ones with a working defense against this thing. And if that message is to be believed, we're all in this together, whether we like it or not." The call for a galactic council was met with mixed reactions. Some species eagerly accepted, desperate for any solution. Others were hesitant, suspicious of human motives. A few, like the isolationist Vex Collective, outright refused. The council convened on a neutral space station at the edge of Zorlax space. Representatives from over 50 species gathered, their forms as varied as the stars themselves. Floating gas bags, crystalline entities, and even a species of sentient plant life all converged, united by their fear of the spreading pandemic. Dr. Chen stood before them, feeling the weight of not just humanity, but all sentient life on her shoulders. "We face an enemy unlike any we've encountered before," she began, her words translated into a dozen different languages. "This virus isn't just a disease. It's intelligent, adaptable, and it has a purpose." She laid out what they knew. The virus's unnatural ability to jump between species, its rapid evolution, and the chilling message they had received. As she spoke, she could see the fear in the alien eyes, or equivalent sensory organs, around her. "But we are not helpless," she continued, her voice growing stronger. "Humanity has developed a technology that can protect entire planets. We call it the Quarantine Shield. And we are prepared to share this technology with all of you." A murmur ran through the assembled aliens. The Zorlak representative, Krell, raised a clawed appendage. The humans speak the truth, it said. Their shield has saved what remains of our civilization. Without it, we would already be extinct. Not all were convinced. The representative of the Ulfax Dominion, a warlike species known for their distrust of other races, spoke up. "And what do the humans want in return for this generosity?" it growled. "Our subjugation. Our resources." Samantha met the Ulfax's 4 eyes steadily. "What we want is survival. Not just for humanity, but for all sentient life. This enemy doesn't discriminate. Either we stand together, or we fall alone." Her words seemed to resonate, but doubt still lingered. That's when Dr. Foster stepped forward, activating a holographic display. "We've been analyzing the virus's pattern of spread," he explained. "It's not random. Look." The display showed a map of the galaxy, with infected worlds highlighted in red. As they watched, a pattern emerged. The virus was spreading in a spiral, methodically working its way from the outer rim towards the galactic core. "This is a coordinated attack," Foster continued. "Whoever or whatever is behind this, they're hurting us, limiting our escape routes. We're being corralled like cattle." The revelation sent shockwaves through the assembly. Species that had been on the verge of conflict now looked at each other with new understanding. They were all prey to this unseen predator. In the face of this existential threat, old rivalries began to crumble. The Ulfax, longtime enemies of the Zorlax, offered their considerable military might to help protect vulnerable worlds. The Etherians, a species of energy beings, volunteered to use their unique physiology to help distribute the shield technology faster than conventional ships could manage. As the Council progressed, a plan began to take shape. Humanity would share the shield technology, while other species would contribute their own unique technologies and knowledge. The Volcran, masters of faster-than-light travel, offered to upgrade Earth's ships. The Quilathi, with their advanced AI, began working on improvements to the shield's targeting systems. But even as this unprecedented cooperation blossomed, challenges arose. Implementing the shield on such a massive scale required resources that were becoming scarce as worlds fell to the virus. And there were planets where the shield simply wouldn't work. Gas giants, worlds with highly unstable magnetic fields, and the home planets of species whose biology was incompatible with the technology. For these cases, Dr. Chen proposed a radical solution: evacuation. "We create safe zones," she explained. "Clusters of shielded planets where we can harbor refugees and consolidate our resources." The idea was met with resistance at first. The logistics of moving entire populations were staggering, and many species were reluctant to abandon their homeworlds. But as reports came in of more planets going dark, the necessity became clear. As the galactic pandemic raged on, a great migration began. Vast fleets of ships, protected by mobile shield generators, ferried countless beings to designated safe worlds. It was a humanitarian effort on a scale never before seen in the galaxy. Through it all, Dr. Chen and Dr. Foster worked tirelessly. They coordinated with alien scientists, pushing the boundaries of the shield technology. Each breakthrough was hard-won, often coming just in time to save a world on the brink of infection. But for every victory, there was a loss. Planets fell. Species went extinct. The virus marched on, always one step ahead, always adapting. 3 months after the Galactic Council, as Dr. Chen was overseeing the evacuation of a dying world, a transmission came through. It was from Earth. "Dr. Chen," the voice of the UN Secretary-General crackled through. "We've detected something, a ship, unlike anything we've ever seen. It's approaching the edge of our solar system." Samantha felt a chill run down her spine. She knew, with a certainty that defied explanation, that this was it, the source of the virus, the intelligence behind the harvest. As she gave the order to return to Earth, she realized that everything up to this point, the shield, the council, the evacuations, had been merely preparation. The real battle for survival was about to begin. Humanity's ingenuity unleashed. The alien ship loomed at the edge of Earth's solar system, a behemoth of unknown origin and incomprehensible design. Its surface seemed to shift and writhe, defying the laws of physics as humanity understood them. Dr. Samantha Chen stood in the control room of humanity's most advanced spaceship, the HMS Prometheus, her eyes fixed on the holographic display of the intruder. "Any response to our hails?" she asked, her voice tense. Captain Elena Rodriguez shook her head. "Nothing, Doctor. It's just sitting there." Dr. Adrian Foster frowned, studying the readings from their sensors. "These energy signatures, I've never seen anything like it. It's as if the ship is alive." As they watched, tendrils of energy began to emanate from the alien vessel, probing the edges of Earth's quarantine shield. The shield flickered but held firm. "It's testing our defenses," Samantha realized. She turned to the communications officer. "Send a message to all allied species. We need every ship we can get here now." The next few hours were a flurry of activity as ships from across the galaxy converged on Earth. The Ulfax brought their dreaded war fleets, bristling with weapons. The Zorlax arrived with ships that could manipulate gravity itself. Even the usually isolationist Vex Collective sent a contingent, their crystalline vessels glittering in the starlight. As the Allied fleet assembled, the alien ship finally made its move. A beam of sickly green energy lanced out, striking Earth's shield. Alarms blared as the shield's energy levels fluctuated wildly. "It's the virus," Adrian shouted, his fingers flying over his console. "They're trying to infect the shield itself." Samantha's mind raced. The shield wasn't just a barrier. It was a complex network of nanomachines and energy fields. If the virus could infect it, "We need to adapt the shield," she said, her voice steady despite the chaos around her. "Not just to block the virus, but to learn from it, to evolve faster than it can." It was a dangerous gambit. Opening the shield to the virus, even in a controlled way, could lead to catastrophe. But as the alien beam intensified, they realized they had no choice. Dr. Chen and Dr. Foster worked feverishly, collaborating with scientists from a dozen different species. They reprogrammed the shield's core systems, turning it from a simple barrier into a complex, adaptive immune system for the entire planet. As they worked, the Allied fleet engaged the alien ship. Ulfax energy weapons splashed harmlessly off its hull. Zorlak gravity bombs seemed to bend around it. Even the dreaded Vex crystal beams, capable of shattering moons, had no effect. But humanity's ingenuity was not to be underestimated. Captain Rodriguez, inspired by the shield's new adaptive properties, proposed a daring plan. "If we can't destroy it," she said, "let's contain it." Using the Prometheus as a command center, they coordinated the Allied fleet into a complex formation. Each ship's shields were linked, creating a web of energy around the alien vessel. Then, using technology reverse-engineered from the quarantine shield, they began to shrink the perimeter. The alien ship fought back furiously, its energy tendrils lashing out, destroying several Allied vessels. But the plan worked. Slowly, inexorably, the living ship was compressed, contained within a bubble of pure energy. Just as victory seemed within reach, the unthinkable happened. The alien ship, in one last act of defiance, imploded. The resulting release of energy overwhelmed the containment field, sending a shockwave of virus-laden particles hurtling towards Earth. "Brace for impact," Samantha shouted, watching in horror as the wave approached the planet's shield. Time seemed to stand still as the viral shockwave struck. The shield flared brilliantly, straining under the onslaught. For a moment, it looked as if it might fail. But then, something remarkable happened. The shield didn't just hold. It began to pulse with new energy. The virus particles that struck it were absorbed, analyzed, and repurposed. The shield was learning, adapting in real time. "It's working," Adrian breathed, staring at his readings in disbelief. "The shield isn't just stopping the virus, it's curing it." As they watched, the shield began to emit pulses of its own. Waves of healing energy spread out into space, neutralizing the remaining virus particles. Ships that had been infected found their systems clearing, their crews recovering. The immediate threat had been neutralized, but the victory felt hollow. The alien ship was destroyed, taking with it any hope of understanding the intelligence behind the galactic pandemic. And the virus, though pushed back, was still out there, evolving, waiting. In the aftermath, as the Allied fleet regrouped and damage reports came in, Dr. Chen addressed the assembled representatives of Earth and its alien allies. "Today we've proven that united, we can stand against any threat," she said, her voice carrying across subspace channels to billions of beings across the galaxy. "But our work is far from over. The enemy we face is still out there, still evolving. We must do the same." She outlined a bold plan to take the adaptive properties of Earth's shield and implement them on a galactic scale. A network of interconnected shields, constantly learning, constantly evolving, protecting all sentient life. "We stand at a crossroads," she continued. "We can retreat behind our individual defenses, or we can come together, share our knowledge, our resources, our very essence. We can create something greater than any one of us, a galactic immune system." The proposal was met with a mix of hope and trepidation. It would require a level of cooperation unprecedented in galactic history. Ancient rivalries would need to be set aside. Closely guarded technological secrets would need to be shared. But as the representatives looked out at the stars, now tinged with the faint glow of Earth's expanded shield, they realized that the universe had changed. The old ways of isolation and competition could no longer ensure survival. One by one, the species pledged their support. The Ulfax offered their vast industrial capacity. The Zorlax promised to share their advanced mathematical models. Even the enigmatic Vex agreed to reveal some of their crystalline technology. As the alliance solidified and plans were made, Dr. Chen allowed herself a moment of hope. They had survived the first wave, but she knew the real work was just beginning. The galaxy was vast, and the enemy was still out there, waiting. But for the first time since this crisis began, she felt they had a fighting chance. Humanity had proven its worth, not through force of arms, but through ingenuity, adaptability, and the power of cooperation. As the Prometheus turned back towards Earth, Samantha looked out at the star-studded void. The universe was no longer just a place of wonder and exploration. It was a battlefield, and humanity was on the front lines. The next phase of the war for survival was about to begin, and this time they would be ready. A new era of cooperation. 5 years had passed since the confrontation with the alien ship at the edge of Earth's solar system. The galaxy had changed profoundly in that time, transformed by necessity and innovation. Dr. Samantha Chen stood before the newly constructed Galactic Council chamber on Mars, marveling at how far they had come. The chamber itself was a testament to the unprecedented cooperation between species. Its architecture blended elements from a dozen different worlds, creating a space that was both alien and familiar to all who entered. Representatives from over 100 spacefaring civilizations filled the room, their diverse forms a vivid reminder of the stakes they all faced. "Order, please," called out the council speaker, a towering Ulfax whose voice reverberated through the chamber. "Dr. Chen has the floor." Samantha took a deep breath, activating the holographic display at the center of the room. A three-dimensional map of the galaxy sprung to life, dotted with pulsing lights representing the vast network of interconnected shields. "Esteemed colleagues," she began, her voice steady. 5 years ago, we faced extinction. Today, we stand united, stronger than ever before. The Galactic Shield Network has exceeded our wildest expectations." The display zoomed in, showing the intricate web of energy fields that now spanned vast swaths of the galaxy. Each shield was a marvel of cooperative engineering, combining technologies from dozens of species into something greater than the sum of its parts. Thanks to the tireless efforts of scientists and engineers from every corner of known space, We've pushed back the viral threat to the outermost reaches of the galaxy, Samantha continued. The adaptive properties of the shield have allowed us to neutralize 97% of all known strains of the pandemic. Her words were cut short by a sudden commotion at the back of the chamber. Dr. Adrian Foster burst in, his face pale with urgency. Sam, we've got a problem. The chamber erupted in murmurs of concern as Adrian made his way to the central platform. He quickly plugged a data crystal into the holographic display, and the galactic map shifted, revealing a disturbing anomaly. We've detected a massive energy surge at the galactic core, Adrian explained, his voice tense. It's like nothing we've ever seen before. The display zoomed in on the galactic core, showing a swirling vortex of energy that seemed to defy the laws of physics. Tendrils of dark matter reached out from its center, probing the edges of the nearest shield installations. By the eternal crystals, gasped the Vex representative. It's a quantum singularity. Samantha's mind raced. They had theorized about the possibility of the virus having a central intelligence, a hive mind of sorts, but this was beyond anything they had imagined. It's not just a singularity, she realized, studying the data. It's evolving, adapting, just like the virus, but on a cosmic scale. The implications were staggering. The galactic pandemic hadn't been a mere attack. It had been a test. A way for this cosmic intelligence to probe the defenses of all sentient life in the galaxy. As the council chamber descended into panic, Samantha felt a strange calm settle over her. They had faced extinction before and survived. They would do so again. As the council chamber descended into panic, Samantha felt a strange calm settle over her. They had faced extinction before and survived. They would do so again. Listen to me, she called out, her voice cutting through the chaos. This is not the end. This is our greatest opportunity. All eyes turned to her, a mix of fear and hope reflected in 100 alien faces. The shield network we've built, it's more than just a defense, she continued. It's a galaxy-spanning superorganism. And now we have the chance to take it to the next level. Over the next hours, Samantha laid out a plan so audacious it bordered on madness. They would use the shield network not just as a defense, but as a weapon. By channeling the combined energy and intelligence of every shielded world in the galaxy, they could create a force to rival the cosmic entity at the core. It will require sacrifices, she admitted. Every world will need to divert massive amounts of energy. We'll be pushing the shields to their absolute limits. But if we succeed, we won't just be saving ourselves. We'll be rewriting the very nature of our galaxy. The debate raged for days. Some species were hesitant, fearful of the risks. Others saw it as their only chance for long-term survival. In the end, it was the Zorlax, the species that had first contacted humanity all those years ago, who tipped the balance. The humans have never led us astray, Ambassador Krull declared. When we were on the brink of extinction, they extended their hand in friendship. Now we must do the same for our entire galaxy. As the plan was put into motion, every shielded world in the galaxy began to pulse with energy. The network lit up like a cosmic web, channeling the combined power and intelligence of trillions of beings towards a single purpose. At the heart of it all stood Samantha and Adrian, coordinating the efforts from a specially constructed station at the edge of the galactic core. As the shield network's energy built to a crescendo, the cosmic entity reacted. Dark tendrils lashed out, threatening to tear apart the very fabric of space-time. For a moment, it seemed as if all might be lost. But then, something remarkable happened. The shield network, imbued with the collective will of the galaxy's inhabitants, began to push back. It wasn't just resisting the entity, it was communicating with it. Through the network, Samantha sensed the entity's vast intelligence, its ancient loneliness. It had created the virus not out of malice, but out of a desire to evolve, to connect with other forms of life in the only way it knew how. In that moment of connection, a new understanding was born. The shield network and the cosmic entity began to merge, their energies intertwining in a dance of creation that reshaped the very heart of the galaxy. As the process completed, a wave of energy swept outward from the core, touching every world, every being. In its wake, it left not destruction, but transformation. The virus was gone, converted into a force for healing and growth. In the aftermath, as the galaxy adjusted to its new reality, Samantha addressed the Galactic Council one final time. "Today marks the dawn of a new era," she said, her voice filled with wonder and hope. "We faced our greatest threat and emerged not just victorious, but fundamentally changed. The shield that once divided us has become the force that unites us all." She gestured to the holographic display, now showing a galaxy more vibrant and alive than ever before. "We are no longer just a collection of individual species, but part of something greater. A galactic community, bound together by bonds stronger than any shield." As she looked out at the assembled representatives, Samantha felt a profound sense of pride. Humanity, once confined to a single world, had played a pivotal role in reshaping the destiny of an entire galaxy. The challenges ahead were many, but for the first time in cosmic history, they would face them truly united. The age of isolation was over. The age of galactic cooperation had begun. And somewhere, in the vast expanse of the transformed galactic core, a new consciousness stirred. Born from the union of organic intelligence and cosmic power, it looked out at the universe with wonder, ready to guide and protect the myriad forms of life that now, more than ever, called the galaxy home. The end was just the beginning.